Hey guys, how's it going, and welcome back to another video about Assassin's Creed Origins. We have got a shit ton of new information coming from a Game Informer podcast they did with Ashraf Ismail, asking him a ton of awesome questions. If you want to listen to the whole thing, I will leave the link in the description, along with another link to the Ones Who Came Before Facebook page, who summarized all of these points very, very nicely, and that's where I'm going to be making this video from, is their post. So if you want to just go over there, read it, give them some support, you can do that. And if you want to listen to the podcast, you can also do that with the links in the description under the heading of source. But without further ado, let's go ahead and let's jump into the video. Okay, so to begin, it started off by saying Assassin's Creed Origins will have a tone and feel that is reminiscent of Assassin's Creed Black Flag, which I think we pretty much expected. There are ships/naval vessels in the game that are bigger than the boats we saw at E3. He said there are other naval combat opportunities, something that is closer to what we had in Black Flag, but for now, we're not going into much detail about that, and we're going to talk and show more about that later. So, I mean, we talked about this, was it yesterday? I don't fucking remember when I talked about this, but regarding the fact they're doing actual naval combat on a larger scale to what we saw in the demo, which I think is cool. Obviously, select missions, I think it all works perfectly, and it just ties together nicely. The next thing he talked about was the minimap, saying that they removed it so that the players could get lost in the world and appreciate the beauty of Egypt, and this decision was made early on in production. Now, I think this is a fantastic idea, because I do find myself a lot of the time staring at the minimap, kind of just navigating around, but if they remove that and just have a compass, which was in Horizon Zero Dawn, they've got that in things like Skyrim, it allows you to kind of look at the world more, and you kind of navigate by looking at the world rather than looking at a map. So you just know, okay, this is the direction I have to go, but how do I get there? And you do that by kind of looking at the world. And I think that's a much better system. I think it works for Assassin's Creed, and I think that's a good way of changing things up, and I hope that they keep that for future installments of the game. The Assassin's Creed team have always wanted to make Egypt, but the technological limitations, such as recreating the size of the world and other factors, prevented it. So finally, we're at this point now where they can recreate Egypt. They had years of research into Egyptian culture, religion, diversity, to make sure that the game remains respectful and true, which of course they do that with all Assassin's Creed games, lots of historical research, which is good news. The team decided to go with a quest structure because there are so many stories they wanted to tell the players, and a quest-based system was the best way to do this. And so I suppose the way that this, I mean, that's a fantastic thing, and I would suppose this means the removal of sequences in the game, and I'm pretty sure, because I asked this during a Q&A that Luma did with him, and I think he kind of said there's no sequences, it's just like like one kind of thing, and I think that's what he said, but I'm not entirely certain. We'll have to wait until further on, but I feel like this also confirms that they're removing sequences from the game. The next thing was that sandstorms are dynamic and happen randomly throughout the world, closer to the deserts. You don't take damage directly from the sandstorms, but your visibility is greatly limited. Also, Senu cannot do anything during a sandstorm, so the gameplay has an impact, but it's not specific to damage. I think that's a good thing. That makes a ton of sense. So when you go into a sandstorm, I mean, like, enemies' sight is also going to be limited, so it's going to increase your ability to do stealth, but then your sight is limited, plus you can't use Senu, so, you know, you're handicapped as well, but I think that really, really works, and that's a cool feature. He says that Alexandria is slightly bigger than Memphis in the game, so of course Alexandria is the biggest city, and he also said that Alexandria is at least twice the size of Havana from Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag, which is crazy. That's a huge city, plus it's systemically into the world, integrated. You can just go in and out of it without any loading screens, things like that, so that's an awesome thing. He stated that the map is not completely open until after the introduction, so when you're getting introduced to the game, doing a tutorial, prologue, stuff like that, the map isn't completely open, but then afterwards, you're going to have the whole map to go and explore, so it's not like Black Flag where, you know, halfway through the game, you've still got things you haven't unlocked. I think that's a good thing, and that means that we're going to get, you know, to explore straight away from the very start. He also said Senu has no limit to how far she can fly away from Bayek, can return to him almost instantaneously. We've known this for a while, and that's a really cool feature nonetheless, though. It's going to be so cool to fly from one end of the map to the other as Senu, exploring everything. I think that's going to be super, super interesting. We're going to get some cool time-lapse things of that. The story as to how Bayek found and tamed Senu may be in the introduction, but Ashraf didn't want to spoil this during the interview. So, I mean, I would hope they'll explain it, and I'm pretty sure they will, but we'll have to wait and see exactly how they do it. So he talked about tombs, and he said they contain puzzles, navigation puzzles, hidden secrets, navigation challenges, some combat challenges, and some of the tombs contain traps, and there are many in the game. So these sound very much like what you'd find in the Ezio trilogy from Tombs, but probably a lot more advanced because we are playing this on an Xbox One X, you know, and PlayStation 4 Pro. So this is incredibly cool. Tombs are something that we've wanted to return for a while. So I'm happy to see this, and the fact that there's so many, I feel like it's going to be a ton of fun to do these in the game. So details on Bayek's personal story will be revealed in more depth later on in the marketing campaign, so later on we can expect more about Bayek's story, and they always do that. We'll find more about, you know, the story of the characters pretty much closer to release, so I'm not expecting anything just yet, but it will be cool to see more of that later on. The next thing I think is freaking awesome is that the dodge animation is apparently being worked on based on the feedback received at E3, which is great news. The fact that they've taken feedback and gone, right, well, we have enough time, let's implement this into the game and change some stuff. I think that's really, really good, because one of the things that people did say is the combat looked somewhat clunky, but also I think the biggest complaint was the dodge animation looked like he was boosting left and right rather than, you know, actually kind of hopping. So I think that it's good that they're adjusting that, and that's really cool. The next thing links onto that by Ashraf saying he believes the game today is already more advanced than the alpha build that was shown at E3, and that's something that I believed as well, is that, you know, I think the alpha build was probably established somewhere in January, refined so that it'd be shown at E3, so that it was, you know, the perfect build to show that was incredibly stable, but then you know, the team back and Montreal was carrying on working on the game while they took that build to E3, so the game is of course a lot more advanced than the one that was shown at E3. He also said there are multiple ways to upgrade and manage character customization, along with loot being one way that weapons can be upgraded. And so this is cool, seeing that, you know, character customization is going to be not just through crafting, but I assume through purchasing things, you know, things like that. I can't comment too much, but, you know, I think that it's cool that there's multiple ways that you can customize your character. Weapon upgrading can be done at the blacksmiths to increase the level and the damage, which is really, really cool. The crafting system is a way to increase your defense/damage stats. These are items that can be used by Bayek, and by crafting you can see the improvements. What, that doesn't make any sense. The crafting system is a way to increase your defense/damage stats. These are items that can be used by Bayek, and by crafting you can see the improvements. So I guess this means, that kind of seems very confusing. I don't really know what it means, but I think it means just by crafting you increase your defense and damage. I don't know, let's move on. Other forms of customization other than outfits, such as Bayek's appearance, beard and haircut, for example, are something that the team are pushing for internally. So this means this could be a thing we'll see in the game, customizable of, you know, hair and facial hair. I think this is a good thing. Normally I'd say it's a bad thing because we're reliving a memory. It's kind of strange that you change it, but I mean, you could, I mean, like, to me, I think playing as, imagine the ability to customize Ezio's hair and facial hair. He wouldn't be the same character and be as iconic, I don't think. But then again, this is an RPG game. I think Bayek's hair looks shit, so I would like to customize it. Give him, you know, some nice slick back hair, a big old beard. He'd look like a sweet boy, especially with that scar. That, I mean, if you give him a beard, he'd have, you know, an Ezio beard. So what more do you want? I want this in the game, so please do try and put this in. That'd be fantastic. Bayek can take cover behind walls, but it's not a hard lock system like in Watch Dogs, so it's just like Syndicate, because Syndicate had a cover system, but it was, you know, a soft cover system where when you pushed up against something, you'd take cover. There was no hard lock like in Unity, because I know they changed that because it felt better. So that's all the information that we got from the first section. However, there was a section where he talked specifically about modern day. So, with regards to modern day, he said as follows: when it comes to the modern day and marketing, I'm the game director. I'm focusing on finishing this game. I mean, the PR and marketing team, I'm not actually sure if they want to talk about it or when. We might, that's pretty much all I know. He went on to say, what I will say is one of the reasons why we hesitate is because we know it's an important element for the series. We've read what our fans talk about and what they asked for and what they wish for. Wishlist. He watched Wishlist. He finished with, part of me kind of wants people to be surprised by it, to be allured by it, so I'm not even sure at this point if we should. I would rather have people be more surprised by the experience rather than, you know, here it is. And I think this is a really, really good thing. It's something that backs up what I've talked about previously, is Ashraf is confident in the modern day, he knows it's good, but he doesn't want to spoil it, and I am happy with him not spoiling it. Because I think he said enough there to confirm to me, you know, that he's optimistic, it makes me optimistic. I think he's confirmed is what we want, that I don't need to know anymore. I don't need to know plot points, because the modern day is the main plot. It's such a small part of the game, but it's such a big part of the story, and I think that talking about it, you know, in the marketing campaign, I don't think we need to. I think just tell us, you know, we've listened, etc, etc. He's pushing that so much, And so now I've got confidence in it. I don't need to know anymore. When the game comes out, then I can experience the story of the modern day. I don't need to know anything, you know, right now, because I think that that would just be unnecessary, because it is just the modern day. All it is there for is necessarily, you know, there's no gameplay elements you can say that won't spoil it. You have to experience it when you're playing it to experience what the modern day is, and I think we shouldn't know anything until the game comes out, but that's just personally me. He then went on to talk about some other things, saying that Ashraf considers this game to be a personal journey and eventually leads to the formation of the Brotherhood. Somewhat sounds similar to, you know, Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag, the way it was a personal story, then eventually joined the Brotherhood. However, I don't think it's going to be in the same way. I think it will be a, you know, a progression, and it will make sense. Ashraf did not go into the time span of the game because apparently it could spoil some plot points. That's interesting. I mean, I don't know how that could spoil any plot points, because, like, it is just history, so, I mean, I'm not entirely certain how that works. The next thing he said was the AC team knows the law. I mean, Aguilar was definitely the last user to hold the apple, and Alan Rykin, etc. We won't talk about that. It wasn't Ashraf's fault. That was someone else's fault. But regardless, the AC team doesn't know the law. Anyway, and he knows the references to past assassins such as Darius were made throughout the game, which is good. They also know that Bayek has not been mentioned before, but know the law, meaning there is most likely a reason. So of course they're going to explain these things. Ashraf, I believe, has a passion for this. He doesn't want to just do things. He wants to make sure things are done right, and that's a really, really good thing. There's going to be references to Darius, who's an important character. I assume he'll be a big influence for Bayek. And then, of course, there'll be a reason for why Bayek is never mentioned again by the assassins. And so we're going to get to see that and why that happens in the game. And I think that's very, very interesting. The next thing is talking about the giant snake at the end of the trailer. He said, people will understand it when they experience it. Don't worry, we're not breaking the credibility of the game, which, of course, is a great thing, meaning hallucination, I'd assume. And then the last thing here from all of the information was that the nighttime of the game lasts for quite a long period of time. All the NPCs and animals, etc. have schedules that they have to abide by. The day and night cycle lasts longer than previous Assassin's Creed games, so that schedules can be met, sleep, etc. That's a really, really cool thing. We're gonna get these cool schedules from these NPCs. I'm really looking forward to this shit. Just that they're doing all the little things right, and I really, really appreciate that, because like me and Tyler have said before, getting the little things right turns a good game into a great game. So thanks for watching this video. I do hope you enjoyed. If you did, be sure to smack that like button, because that'd be absolutely fantastic to support the channel. Hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications, stay up to date on all things Assassin's Creed Origins related. I appreciate all the support. We're so close to 40k, I might cry when we hit that, so that's great. So subscribe, that's a reason. I'll do on camera and everything. Anyways, thanks for watching, and I will see you all in the next video.